Good evening. I have this habit of teasing people by saying that Dharma practice is available everywhere. If you have the right awareness. So I play with these words that we use for greeting each other, like good evening, I said. And you also, in reply, said good evening. Likewise, we say good morning, good afternoon. So everybody wants to be good. But the thing is, we say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but we don't live our life in a good way, so we get problem, you see. So even when you greet, good morning is a Dharma teaching. Be good. Good evening, good afternoon. There's so many reminders, you see. And you need to be reminded repeatedly in many ways how to be good. For the Buddhist practitioners, we have after receiving a tantric empowerment, many of us get a commitment called 6-session Guru Yoga practice. And people had very often asked me, Geshe, why do we have to do this 6 times? Initially, I didn't have a proper answer. Then later on, I came up with an answer saying, okay, now I have an answer. Why do you have to eat several times in a day? For the bodily need, we have to eat so many times in a day. So likewise, for the mind also, you need to eat several times a day. Eat means the spiritual food. The many faceted problems that we are facing today in the world is because of spiritual poverty. It's not so much about material poverty. Material poverty is there, but even the material poverty is primarily due to spiritual poverty. Because of that, we are now living in a world where rich people are becoming richer and richer and richer, and the poor are becoming poorer, poorer, poorer. Chance yuksa den duwe, de dua den, de ape, dua dua. So the poor are becoming poorer, 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 you see. So which is not very healthy and useful for anybody, you see. So this is because of spiritual poverty. So therefore it is very important to have this spiritual awakening, spiritual revolution, whatever you want to call it, spiritual awakening. And we call the Buddha the fully awakened one, which also has the implication that we are sleeping. Buddha, when we say Buddha is fully awake, which naturally means we are sleeping. Sleeping in ignorance. So therefore we need to get up. Get up to the reality. It's very, very important. And the fundamental reason why we need to do the Buddhist practice or any spiritual practice, at least from Buddhist viewpoint, is that this very basic reality that we all want happiness and do not want suffering. And no one can refute this. If there's anybody who says, my inborn nature is different, I don't want happiness, I want suffering, then you're a totally different person. But the interesting thing is, in the case of the most of the people, if you ask them, do you want happiness, everybody says, yes, sir. That's the thing. And this wish to have happiness and the wish to shun suffering is not learnt from Buddhism. It's not something that you are taught by your parents. It's the way you are when you were born. It's in our brain, it's in our biological need and necessity. So in Buddhism, we are talking about those fundamental realities that's there within you. So if that is your inner call to have that long-lasting peace and happiness, then the next relevant answer is, from where am I going to get that long-lasting peace and happiness? So intelligent person, a real intelligent person should be somebody who is able to think like this. That's how Buddha thought, that if I want long-lasting peace and happiness, as an inborn urge, then how would I get that long-lasting peace and happiness? From where? Can I buy it in the market? Can I borrow it from somebody? Impossible. Impossible. So where to turn to? At the end of the day, the answer has to be found from yourself. Because pains and pleasures and difficulties and problems and whatever, these are all more or less the products of your attitude, your thinking. As simple as that. So it is in your hand. There's a Buddhist teacher who said that there's nobody who will catch hold of your hand and throw you into heaven. Buddha cannot do that. Even Buddha cannot do that. As simple as that. If he could do that, he should have done this long time before, because he has compassion, he has omniscient mind and so forth. But it's simply not possible. So there's nobody, however great, compassionate that person is, who will catch hold of your hand and throw you into heaven. Buddha cannot do this, your teachers cannot do this, your parents cannot do this. This is a plain fact. Similarly, there's nobody, however evil that somebody may be, there's nobody who will catch hold of your leg and drag you into the hell. So therefore, this great Buddhist teacher, Tibetan teacher, he says, your happiness and your suffering is in your hand. Do not cheat yourself. I mean, as simple as that. Do not cheat yourself. When we are cheated by someone else, we feel so miserable. Oh, my friend cheated me. My parents cheated me. But how many times you have cheated yourself? By not doing the right thing, by going in the wrong direction. So therefore, the basic Buddha's message is, stop cheating if you want long-lasting peace and happiness. Do those things which will lead to that everlasting or long-lasting peace and happiness, which only you can do. The Buddhas cannot, as one of the sutras said, that Buddhas do not wash the sins of sentient beings with water. The Buddhas do not remove the negative existence of sentient beings with his hand. The Buddhas cannot transfer their knowledge and realization into our mind. They can only show you the path of the truth, path of the suchness. And in turn, it is your responsibility to practice their teaching. Buddha is, as we always say, Buddha is like a physician who can diagnose the disease, who can show you the path, who can give you the medicine. But if you refuse to take the medicine, if you do the consultation and then refuse to take the treatment, how can you get cured? So it's really in your hand. And I say this to my younger Tibetan generation. It's not only in the Dharma practice, but also in getting what we want with regard to the question of Tibet. Unless we do, not UN, not America. They may be nice, they may say very nice things, they may express some words of support and so forth. But at the end of the day, it has to be you. It is how strong you are, how educated you are, how compassionate you are, how efficient you are. That counts at the end of the day. So therefore, unless we ourselves develop that awakening and start living or doing, not just talking, then we will experience the benefit of that spiritual teaching. Otherwise, reading this text is like reading a menu in a restaurant. Oh, momo, so it looks so delicious. But if you don't eat it, simply reading the menu, simply reading the prescription will be of no use. So therefore in Buddhism we talk about the three processes of practice: hearing, thinking, meditation. The threefold process. Hearing. which is a received knowledge, as I said yesterday, hearing from somebody who has more knowledge, more experience. And then to find the truth of that teaching through your own personal analysis and this experiment. And develop the conviction, yes, this is true. This is a big development. But again, if you stop there, it will not benefit you. Then the next right thing is make it part of your life. Get habituated with those positive ways of thinking. It's very, very important. We are, with His Holiness's blessing, before long we are planning to bring out some curriculum, proper curriculum for teaching secular ethics in education. The reason to have this kind of secular ethics in education is based on the plain fact that, as I said earlier, we want happiness, do not want suffering. Then second, we live in an interdependent world. Nothing can be achieved by oneself alone. So this being the case, there is a need to have this universal sense of responsibility and compassion, because on those on which you are dependent, naturally you need to show consideration, you need to express appreciation, you need to be thankful. It's only in this way you can flourish in an interdependent world, not by cheating each other, bullying each other, killing each other. Impossible. And that possibility for developing higher human values is actually in our blood. It's a very good news. In Buddhism, we talk about Buddha nature, everybody having Buddha nature. We talk about that in Buddhism. Now the scientists have very clearly found that even if you do some experiment with 2-3-year-old kids, they will love, smile more than the show of an angry face. They will also like flower than thorns and things like that. You see. It's in our blood. Because if you look at the structure of this physical makeup itself, like plant, like tree, they flourish when things are in harmony, and they die and decay when things are not in harmony. And what brings harmony is love, is compassion, is sense of responsibility, is understanding. Not hatred, not anger. And interestingly, scientists have done experiment in many ways. Like, for example, they did this experiment saying that much of the human body is made of fluid, water, And if you do something, then the chemistry of the water changes. So it's as simple as that. So therefore, we are working very hard to bring about this book for secular ethics education. So what I'm trying to say is, whether you study Buddhism or anything, that the reason that we need to be good, to have these values, is not because it has been told by Buddha or somebody else. Not because the discourse is found in the religious tradition, but it is good for us in the long run. Individually, and also at the level of family, society, nation as a whole. Actually, it hardly needs any proof. We need to do a little bit of thinking which one is good. To be angry or to be smiling and patient. As I always say, that like, for example, anger. There's nobody who right in the morning makes a motivation saying that today I will get angry. Because people have some idea that anger is not good. But then unfortunately, in the day with your co-workers and things like that, you get angry and sometimes even fight with your colleagues. But then at the end of the day, there's nobody who will say, oh, I fought with somebody, I got very angry today, so I really enjoyed the day. As simple as that. We need to observe a little bit. And therefore His Holiness is telling people that, yes, disagreements are there. But whenever there is a disagreement, then try to solve it through dialogue, not through confrontation and the wish to destroy each other. And you can learn this in your day-to-day exchange with other people. If you observe a little bit, make a little bit of effort, you can see the benefit of it. Like, for example, even if you had some misunderstanding, some heated argument with somebody, okay, it happens. We are not Buddha, it happens. Despite our good motivation to be a good person, but on the spot, because of the environment, the situation, your workload, whatever, you get angry and fight with somebody. Then after your anger has cooled down, make it a point that next time you see that person, try to smile. Say hello. You will lose nothing, you will gain. But how many of us are able to do that? Because we don't try to practice these things. We don't try to do these practices. I've observed this very interesting fact that, for example, let us say if I have been, we have been friends for the last 30 years, let us say. Not just friends, but very close friends, 30 years. But this morning we had some disagreement and a little bit verbal fight, say 5 minutes verbal fight. Now look at this strange human thinking, that because of this 5 minutes verbal fight, we will from that time onwards stop talking to each other, stop seeing each other. He's coming this way, I will pretend I'm not seeing him, I go this way. That's what we do. But look at this now. You are able to remember this 5 minutes verbal fight and not able to remember 30 years long friendship. So the desirable and the right thing is, okay, you had 5 minutes verbal fight, then next thing that is really relevant, important is go to him and hug him and say, sorry, I'm really sorry. If there's a need to cry, cry, no problem. You say sorry. But the strange thing is then other people say, oh, he must have done something wrong. He went there and asked for forgiveness. We misread things. And if you had the courage to do this, your friend will become much more stronger than before. But how many of us are able to do that? Because we are fed with superficial, so-called social conditioning, cultural conditioning. We don't go deep what is good for us in the long run. So it's important to try in your day-to-day life a little bit about these things, Even if there is a disagreement, don't try to fight immediately if that is possible. So you will learn a lot of things. So it is through this way that we can solve our problem. And in fact, there is a reason for His Holiness to say this, because unlike animals, we have this very amazing, sophisticated human intelligence. If the tigers and lions fight, okay, it's understandable. They can't think. They don't have much intelligence. They're physically built to prey upon each other, kill each other. We are not physically built in preying and killing each other, because if you try to kill other animals with your nail, all your nails will go. If you try to kill them with your teeth, all your teeth will go, not being able to kill anyone. So your real power as a human being is your human intelligence. The capacity to judge what is good for you, what is good for others, what is good now, what is good in the long run. So unfortunately, we also most of the time live like animals, never use this human intelligence. That's the problem we are facing today. Now less and less people are talking about the value. Everybody is talking about the material benefits. And so many gadgets are flooding the market, shiny gadgets. iPhone 5, 6, 6 Plus, 7 Plus, whatever. So many things to distract your mind. And we sheepishly buy all these things. And this technology, they are very useful, but if you don't have some kind of control, you will become a slave to this gadgets. Because the gadgets don't speak to you. What you see in the television, they don't speak to you. You are only a spectator, you are only a listener, it's one-sided. So therefore you need to be very careful. We are different from robots. Okay? It's very important. Now today, more and more people are suffering from loneliness. Population is growing, and people are suffering from loneliness. I mean, amazing. In a big city with, say, 20 million people, there's one who, without friends, suffering from loneliness. And people suffering from low self-esteem. Loneliness is primarily to do with your mental attitude, how you live your life. I have myself seen people in highly developed countries that the neighbors are not in talking terms. This neighbor dies, after 3 days, other people might know that this is dead. So therefore, this fundamental human values, like appreciation, kindness, tolerance, patience, respect to others, this is what is taught in these texts. Individually speaking, we try our best to take care of ourselves. We may not be good in that, but still at least we try our best. Now if somebody out of the blue asks you this very strange question, saying that, I saw you during the last many years that you are taking so much care about yourself. Why you are taking so much care about yourself? Are you a very important person? If somebody asks such a strange question, what would be our answer? You cannot answer this by saying, I am taking so much care about myself because I am a professor, or I am a monk, or I am a singer, I am a Hollywood or Bollywood actor, actress. Even if you answer like that, that's not the correct answer. The only correct answer is that I take care about myself because I want happiness, do not want suffering. At the end of the day, that will be your answer. So in a similar fashion, if you look at others, why people are running so much? Right from the morning till late in the night, they are running, people are hither and thither in all directions. They are running in search of peace, in happiness. And how much peace and happiness they are getting. So just like you, people are looking for peace and happiness. But again, because of ignorance, they look in the wrong direction for that peace and happiness, so they don't get it. We don't get it. So therefore it is important to have this spiritual awakening, to search in the right direction, that you get more reliable peace and happiness. So that's why this kind of spiritual tradition, and especially like changing the state of your mind, transforming the mind in accordance with the reality, the way things are. If you look at the Buddha's teaching, the teaching that the Buddha gave is something that he discovered in the nature. I don't think it is something that he invented. Even if he gained some new insight, but it is because of his using his subtlemost penetrative mind and being able to fathom the depth of the reality. And therefore he was able to express and share those deeper insights. But again, he was sharing the way things are, the reality. So he was basically saying that if you want happiness, live in accordance with reality. Impermanence is a reality, suffering is a reality, interdependent connection is a reality, the need for compassion is a reality, the need for loving kindness is a reality. That's what he's teaching. So therefore, when we study the Buddha's teaching, it's important to be realistic. If you are unable to focus too much on enlightenment and nirvana, right now it's okay, I think it's okay. But at least you should, I keep on telling people that Buddhism must make sense in today's world. If you are able to make Buddhism sense in today's world, you will be able to make sense of Buddhism that leads to liberation, that leads to enlightenment. If you are unable to see its day-to-day benefit, you will never be able to see the benefit of achieving liberation and enlightenment, to be honest. We have not much idea about liberation and enlightenment. It's good for praying. It's almost an impossible task. I'm not discouraging you. It's not easy. Given that negative, thick layers of afflictive emotions on our mind, it's not easy task. But that does not mean to say that with this Buddhist practice you will not get any benefit until you get liberated from samsara or until you become Buddha. That's absolutely wrong. So therefore, understand this basic Buddhist teaching so that you are able to change your life and happier right now. You will be happier right now if you change your way of thinking a little bit. And some of the Buddhist teachers say that in one sense, dealing with negative emotions is extremely difficult. In one sense, even if you change the side of your head, you can remove afflictive emotions or minimize afflictive emotions. If you look here, if you're getting angry, don't look here, look here. So there are many techniques. So therefore, we need to change our style of studying Buddhism and practicing Buddhism a little bit. It's not enough that you keep on listening to somebody and not doing your homework. You need to implement it and see the benefit of this practice in your family, in your day-to-day life, and see whether it was good to remain angry for 3 hours or to remain happy, patient, relaxed for 3 hours. Which one is better? I mean, if it is better and happier to be angry for 3 hours, okay, go for that. Let us be honest with anger also. Let us be honest with afflictive emotions also. But again, you will see the reality. There's much better to be patient, to be compassionate, to be loving, than being angry, upset. So it's a common sense religion. So using our own common sense, common experience, and if needed, some of scientific findings. Then you need to live your life in accordance with that. And if you do that, then not only you will be able to change yourself, but you will also be able to become a person with a very strong sense of responsibility in the society. Otherwise, if you simply talk about Buddhahood, enlightenment, may I achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, but don't care about those people here, all sentient beings, somewhere there, beyond the ocean. Okay, with the people around here, you mistreat them, be negative, and make their life miserable. And then in the morning and evening pray, may I become Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme. It's really the danger of becoming hypocrite, you see. So therefore, the real Buddhist teaching is very much in tune with some modern sayings, which says, think globally, act locally. Think globally, think about all sentient beings, of course. But the way to practice is right now, create an atmosphere here by smiling and being nice to others, by cleaning the environment. And think what is good for others. And you can play your part. If there's rubbish, clean it. There's offering. There's making other people, disease-free. But look at us. May all sentient beings happy. Throw the rubbish here, nobody cares about. If there's a rubbish, everybody closes their nose. Nobody cleans it. This is not a good habit. So it is by being aware and then being active. Walk the talk, as we say. Then we can really feel, oh, Buddhism is working. Otherwise, people will think, oh, this Buddhist, they are just talking. So we have to form a habit of this practice, mentally, physically, verbally, as we say. When we do the prostration, we do it physically, verbally, mentally. So likewise, in the society, we need to do it physically, verbally, mentally. and in the society more physically. Because otherwise, if you say you have many great ideas, nobody will believe. You judge yourself by what you think you can do, but other people will judge you what you have done, not what you are thinking. So we need to do. And it's by doing, by creating a beautiful environment, beautiful atmosphere, that people will enjoy. People will be proud of their family, their nation, their society, the world as a whole. Then we feel like living. Then that is the way we live longer, healthier. Nobody cares about each other. Everybody throws rubbish everywhere. And then going to the temple to do some prayers. Not much use. So therefore, in today's world, and in fact the Buddha's teaching was like, if you look at Buddha, read his story, he himself was somebody who walked the length and breadth of India, especially northern India, going to the villagers, needy, poor, weak, and giving them sermon, guidance, teaching, helping the sick, washing the, dirt of sick people. There's so many stories like that. He was not like sitting on a high throne, not moving everywhere, sitting in a big palace with so many golden ornaments like that. No, he moved from he left his kingdom behind. So therefore it's important to understand the essence of these teachings. Vale. So we were talking a little bit about the greatness of this teacher, Chekhawa. So after his receiving the teaching on the mind training, the thought transformation, he was so highly moved by the teaching that he spent 14 years at the foot of his teacher, rigorously practicing, almost like day and night. And as a result, as I said, that then he, at the end of the day, he said, now I have made my life meaningful, now I have no regret even if I die today. So if we do, then you can see the magic, you can see the mystery, you can see the benefit. If we don't do, then how can we see the benefit of such mind training? And he said, in one of his teaching, based on his experience, he said, I have sold my land to get some gold in lieu of this land, and then did my practice by living a life which is almost like a beggar. And I can now see the benefit of what I have done, what I have committed. So little bit of hard work is important. Okay? And as a result, not only he himself became a great accomplished master, but he had more than 900 monks at his time following his footsteps. And the prominent among them was Sechilwuwa, who remained with him, with Chekhawa, for 21 years, just like the body and the shadow. Body and the shadow, that's what I'm saying. That shows the commitment. Somebody who wants to achieve something, you need to show the commitment. If you want to become a good mathematician, you need to show interest in it. Then you can easily become a great mathematician. In Buddhism, the definition of effort, perseverance, out of the 6 perfections is delighting in virtuous practices. Delighting in virtuous practices. So that means whatever we are doing, especially those activities that is beneficial to others, we need to be happy. We need to delight in it. There should be enthusiasm. Should not be expecting reward for that. Now, how many of us can do that? If there is some salary, money, we'll do it. If there's no money, no salary, why should I do it? Wrong attitude. You need to, in your life, it's important not to tie your objective to a person or something, but tie your objective to a goal to achieve something positive. So when there is delight, when there is joy, when there is enthusiasm, without any difficulty, you can achieve many great things in a short time. The reason that we don't achieve much in our life is because we are jack of all, master of none. We are touching a little bit here, touching a little bit there, not good in anything. So even in the modern system, they talk so much about specialization. This concept of specialization is there in Buddhism. I read one text by Nagarjuna where he clearly says, to compare the stars and the moon. The light that is given by the moon is much brighter than many stars together. So that means if you know one subject properly, nicely, thoroughly, it will help you know many things. But if you just pick up a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, not much use, not much benefit. And especially in the Buddhist practice, unless you are able to develop conviction in the efficacy of these virtuous practices, in the negativeness of these destructive emotions, you will not make an attempt. Like for example, if I say, okay, in this cup is full of poison, these are not sweet, these are poison. Okay, then I show you that this is really poison. Then I say, okay, now you know this is poison. Okay, so please take. No one here will take that. Because you are convinced this is poison, this will destroy you. But if I say, anger is poison, attachment is poison, don't develop anger, don't develop attachment. Yes. But we keep on developing that. Because we don't have the conviction. I mean, I'm not just you, me, myself included. So it's important to really develop the conviction. And in Buddhism, these three root negative emotions are called the three poisons. But these poisons we enjoy very much. Poison, okay. Anger, okay, I'll get it, no problem. Next time, no. Attachment, okay, today, no problem. Tomorrow. And we talk about samsara. Oh, samsara is so bad. Oh, samsara. But we are all scared of death. That means scared of death means you want to live. Live where? In samsara. So that clearly shows you are not scared of death. Because deep down in your mind you are thinking, samsara so far very good. I mean, Buddhist teaching says samsara is bad. So far samsara is okay. That kind of thinking is there. Because we don't have the understanding of the limitation of what we are enjoying, what we are seeing. So therefore in Buddhism we talk about so many levels of suffering. So it's important to have this deeper knowledge of the reality. So anyway, in this way, this mind training, lineage comes from all these great teachers down to Atisha, and then gradually to Tsongkhapa, and so on. And I myself had the fortune of receiving this teaching from His Holiness, I think few times. So this particular text, 7-point mind training, which Chekhawa wrote, is primarily dependent upon Shantideva's texts. Bodhicharya Avatara, the Bodhisattva way of life, and the Shiksha Samuchaya. With the root text, you will see later that there are many ways of presenting with the change of time. So in the next verse, so in order to develop respect to this instruction, in the next few lines it talks about the greatness of this instruction in terms of its function. They are like a diamond, like a sun, and a medicinal tree, and understand the purpose and so forth of these texts. So that basically means that in the case of diamond, even if it is a broken part of that diamond, still it will have a lot of value and in dispelling your poverty, and it would still be a beautiful ornament. Even the broken pieces of diamond will be still a very beautiful ornament, and it will overpower many other gems and jewels. So similarly, this instruction on training our mind in bodhicitta, the mind to enlightenment, if you are able to develop the complete bodhicitta, of course, then the benefit is immense. But even if you are able to develop a partial understanding of this great mind, you will get the mind, you will get the name that she is a bodhisattva, and you will excel the mental realization of the Sarvakas, Paticca Buddhas, and so on. And you will be able to remove all the poverties of the samsara. Similarly, this instruction on bodhicitta is like the sun. In the case of the sun, the actual sun, of course, the whole sun, of course, has the great power to dispel darkness. But even in those areas where there is the sunlight, even if the actual sun is not visible, but if the sun rays are there, even that has the capacity to dispel darkness in that area. So similarly, even if you develop a partial understanding of this bodhicitta, you will be able to dispel the darkness of ignorance, the self-grasping, and similarly the self-cherishing attitude, which is induced by the self-grasping or ignorance, and likewise all other types of afflictive emotions. So here I will explain these two, self-grasping and self-cherishing. Now here when I use the word self-grasping, the word self that I am using is a direct translation of the Tibetan word dak. So self-grasping here primarily means seeing things as having inherent independent existence. That is self-grasping. That's one of our enemy number one. The another big enemy is self-cherishing attitude. Now of course we all need to cherish ourselves, we all need to love ourselves. But here when we talk about self-cherishing attitude as a negative, it means this attitude where you care only about yourself and disregard others' need, others' welfare. So that kind of self-cherishing attitude is very destructive. So these two, now even if we are able to understand all the subtleties and details of these texts or not, but if we understand these two, then we achieved much. So we need to again remember this slogan, self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, these two are my sworn enemy. And the counterforce against these two bosses of the negative emotions is wisdom understanding emptiness and the mind to enlightenment, the bodhicitta. The counterforce against self-cherishing attitude is bodhicitta. The counterforce against self-grasping is The wisdom, understanding, interdependent connection, understanding reality. Okay, that's very important, these two. That's the heart of this whole teaching, We can even stop talking from today, more or less, really. That's the meaning. So, to understand that little bit is not so difficult. But what's important is to go deeper and then try to practice it a little bit. If the headquarters of a nation or country is seized by an enemy, then more or less we say, okay, now that country has gone, lost, captured by the enemy. Okay, that's what we say. So similarly, unfortunately, right now, in the headquarters of our mind, these two negative enemies, the bosses of the negative emotions, the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, they are already here in the headquarters of our mind. Not only are they in the headquarters of our mind, but they are sipping a nice cup of tea, as a metaphorical statement, sipping a nice cup of tea and relaxing, because we are not challenging any of them. Oh, self-grasping attitude, come, good. Old friend, come. Self-cherishing attitude, okay, come, I know you long time before. It's part of myself, come, stay here. So nobody is even challenging. So therefore they are relaxing. They captured the headquarters, nobody is challenging, so they are relaxing. And we are obeying them sincerely, whatever dictation that comes from self-grasping, self-attitude. Okay, do everything for yourself, don't care about others. And in the society we teach this. All you need is money. All you need is to work for yourself. Forget this so-called country or religion, things like that. Others, forget about it. It's their business. First you take care of yourself. That's how we think. A clear indication that we are following the dictates of these negative enemies. So now you can see where you are. Your headquarters is captured. And nobody is saying a word against it. And the Buddhist teaching is saying, revolt. That's what this Buddhist teaching is saying. It has been for time immemorial that you have been enslaved by these negative emotions. And that's why you see your situation today. Compare your situation with the Buddha. Buddha got enlightened and is benefiting so many millions of people even today because he practiced the mind that cherishes others. He practiced bodhicitta, he practiced wisdom, understanding, emptiness. In our case, we practice self-grasping, we practice self-cherishing attitude. Always thinking for oneself. I need more. So where we are today, do we have more? So that's why this Buddhist is teaching, now is the time. Now be brave and say, gone are the days when you enslaved me. Gone are the days when you fooled me, cheated me, because in those days I had no wisdom eye. Now because of the kindness of the teacher, because of the kindness of the teaching, I gained this wisdom eye. Now I know who you are. So that's how we practice. Now next time when negative emotions are coming, you need to say them, get lost. The time you cheated me, the time you fooled me, is the time gone. Now I know who you are. It's exactly like making friendship. The more and more you spend time with somebody, the more and more they show their ugly side, then you will distance. Naturally, you will distance yourself from those negative friends. Contrarily, the more and more you spend time with somebody, the more and more you see the good side of that person, the compassionate, loving nature of that person, the more and more you become closer and closer. Exactly like that, we need to make friendship with the positive emotions and distance ourselves from the negative emotions. So that's why if you read many of these mind training texts, the Kadamba masters, they are thinking in different ways how to tackle and how to fight with these negative emotions. If you read this Shantideva's Bodhisattva way of life, right from the beginning until to the end, he is simply talking about how to corner these negative emotions. Because these negative emotions are very cunning. They are very elusive. Sometimes they come in the form of a friend, like for example, when attachment comes. When you develop attachment, it says, oh, come closer, you're so nice. Anger comes, get lost. I have nothing to do with you. So it comes in so many different ways. And we are easily entrapped and cheated. So therefore, Shantideva was basically trying to corner these negative emotions. If you come this way, I will deal you with this way. If you come this way, I'll deal you with this way. So therefore, many of these great teachers, they say, I have only one job. When it comes to Buddhist practice, I have only one job to do. That is fighting against these negative emotions and never ever submitting myself to the dictates of these negative emotions. As simple as that. But of course, it's easy to say, but difficult to practice. So if we start practicing, with the passage of time, you will be surprised to see that unnoticingly it had made an impact in your life. Unnoticingly your mind is changing. There is no push button enlightenment. It takes time. But we need to do that for our own well-being and goodness. Okay? So therefore, and similarly he says, like a medicinal tree, a full-grown medicinal tree has the capacity to remove all kinds of sicknesses and diseases. And even in the case of a branch or a fruit or leaves of that medicinal tree, even those parts of that medicinal tree has the capacity to remove many illnesses. So likewise, there's no need to talk about the great many benefits if you develop the whole bodhicitta, but even if you develop some partial understanding, then it will be able to destroy all the chronic illnesses of afflictive emotions. So therefore, from that point of view, this is a sublime medicine. And particularly, if you look at the time when the Buddha came, he came at a time when people were experiencing the 5 degenerations, during which the sentient beings, their main focus is afflictive emotion. Their main action is doing bad things. They keep on thinking only about themselves, not about others. Even when somebody gets something good through their own effort, you become jealous. Physically, verbally, mentally, directly, indirectly, we try to harm others. And it is because of this, the positive protectors also distance themselves from us. Great teachers also pass away because there's not much benefit of their staying here. And then those who delight in the wrongdoings, the evil forces, they multiply, they prosper, they develop. And therefore we experience all kinds of inauspicious things in our life. And especially in the case of those who commit themselves to do spiritual practice, they find a lot of hindrances and obstructions. So during such a time, unless you practice a special teaching like the mind training teaching, it may be difficult for you to sustain your practice. This is a very powerful teaching because it is said initially the mind training teachings were not given publicly. First the students will be taught about the great stages of the path, the lamrim. And then later on they would examine the students. And then when they find this person can really now do that practice, then they would teach the mind training practice. But around this time when Chekhawa was giving teaching, there was many reasons that he started giving this as a public teaching. With this kind of mind training teaching, not only you will find the regular teachings, but also there are teachings which will teach you how to transform the misfortunes, calamities into the path. There is a process of practice which this physical body itself can be transformed almost like a state of heaven. Because heaven and hell is a state of your mind. Heaven is not a special place, where you go and then you relax and enjoy. It's a state of your mind. If you are able to develop the positive mental outlook perspective, heaven is more or less, not the real heaven, but kind of heaven will be there. If you don't have that positive mental outlook, wherever you go, you will have problems. And that's why one big problem is normally people just keep on complaining about what they don't have. I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have that. Keep on complaining. Never able to appreciate the good things that they have. And I have seen this in many places. At one point of the talk, I asked this question, that you should be happy. You have so many good things with you, so don't just keep on complaining. Then among the listeners, some of them said, Geshe, we are poor people, we have nothing. So you can see immediately they are judging how good they are in terms of material accumulation, not in terms of what they have as a human being. Then I told them, look, there are many things by which you can be happy. Like for example, you have these two hands intact. Have you appreciated that? Two eyes intact. Have you appreciated that? You are not born as a stray dog or things like that. Have you appreciated that? Sometimes people come to me and say, Geshe, can you teach me meditation? The traditional process of the sevenfold process of sitting, thinking, all these are there in the text, So I'm very fond of provoking people, teasing people. So I tell them, you want meditation? Okay, you meditate that you are a dog and not a human being. The whole morning you meditate that you are a dog and act like a dog. Then you will see where you are going to eat, where you are going to sleep, where you are going to take rest. Now we are human beings, so intelligent, so many facilities there, still complaining. Still complaining. So, two hands intact, two legs intact. How many people are there, even among human beings, how many people are there who don't have hands, who don't have legs? Now look at us, we have hands but misusing the hand. Two beautiful eyes, misusing the two eyes. And His Holiness says, even if you look at the state of your hand, these two slender, long arms with nice fingers, they are good for hugging, not for hitting. Once I was translating for His Holiness in Varanasi to the Brahma Kumaris. So His Holiness was here, I was sitting here, I was translating. So he was talking about this. Then he said, look, this nice arms and fingers, good for hugging, not for hitting. He did like this to me. I nearly fell from the chair. I can never forget this. In Varanasi, many years back. So what I'm saying is, as His Holiness said, and many other thinkers, they say that if you really judge the physical shape of yourself, like the teeth, for smiling, for getting angry, do you need teeth for getting angry? For getting angry, you close the mouth, huh? Not like... Really, it's interesting. You need to observe the reality, you see. Then as I said, the teeth and the nails are not good for killing, you see. Then eyes also, like if you really look at the eye, it's good for loving kindness, for compassion. Our eyes are normally not like snake's eye, round, Snake is basically, unfortunately, a little bit angry, So it's a roundish eye. So even if you look at the structure of the physical body, it's not good for destruction. So therefore, what I was really driving at was that you need to corner these negative emotions, see how bad they are, and make it a point that I will reduce my negative emotions. If you do that, you are a good practitioner. If you don't do that and simply expecting get a vision of a deity, yellow deity, green deity, blue deity, that's not so much fun. Because this deity is also for removing the negative emotions. And if you don't remove the negative emotions, they will never appear to you. And before you removed your negative emotions, some blue deity came. It may be distraction, not the real deity probably. Really, honestly. And developing accomplishment or attainment is in terms of how much negative emotions you have removed, not in terms of whether you have opened a third eye here or not. Like, for example, if you reduce anger a little bit, there will be more smile on your face. That makes others happy, makes yourself happy, good for your health. As simple as that. So therefore, the target is how to fight these negative emotions. So therefore, it's important to understand the nature of the mind, logic that we study. The positive emotions, the negative emotions, how to fight with them. So as I was saying, now from today onwards, try to shut the door for the negative emotions. Anger, okay, anger is coming. Close the door. Jealousy is coming, close the door. Attachment is coming, close the door. Compassion is coming. Oh, sorry, I did not recognize your great value. So I want to make friendship with you. Please come. Have a nice cup of tea. Loving kindness, oh, come, please. Patience, come. So in this way, try to invite all the positive emotions and let them stay in the headquarters of your mind. That's called practice. And if you do such a practice, then no evil forces will harm you. Sometimes people their actual way of life is very nasty, destructive, and then they mentally feel unhappy. Then they say, oh, I'm haunted by a negative emotion, negative force, evil force. So sometimes when people ask me regarding this, then I tell them, even if there is a negative evil force in you, it's because you are weak. If you are strong, nobody can harm you. Okay? So therefore, if you have this practice of bodhicitta, then you will not be tormented by external and internal conditions, negative destructive conditions. And you will never be agitated or disturbed. The very definition of the negative emotion, nyomon means a state of emotion which when arises in you, makes you completely agitated and disturbed. Because this, if you look at the nature of these negative emotions are all narrow-minded. Like attachment. You fancy something, a person or an object, you get obsessed with that attachment. Your focus becomes very narrow. I love only this person, no one else. That's what we say normally. We make that big declaration, I love you and nobody else. But that shows how narrow-minded we are. The compassion says, love all sentient beings. This one says, only this person. So you can see how narrow it is, how selfish it is. Then anger and hatred. For anger and hatred, you need a target. I'm very angry with this person. I want to kill him. I want to eliminate him. You need just one target for all these negative emotions. You see? So that shows how narrow-minded these negative emotions are, because they are not based on proper foundation, reasonable foundation. They have no proper foundation. Whereas loving kindness, love all sentient beings. How nice if all sentient beings meet with happiness. Compassion says, how nice if all sentient beings are without suffering. All sentient beings. You see? You can see the difference now. And therefore, when you develop these negative emotions, you develop a tunnel vision, narrow mind, self-cherishing attitude. And that is causes of not only mental illness and sickness, but also many types of physical illness and sicknesses. This is what is taught in Buddhism and now gradually proved through scientific findings. I once attended many years back actually, attended a conference in New York, where one scientist made this presentation with data that those people who make more self-references and talks about I, me and mine, I, me and mine, I, me and mine, I, me and mine, that's what we do. Those who do that, they are more prone to all kind of illnesses, including heart attack. Because your focus becomes very narrow. When your focus becomes very narrow, then even if there's a tiny problem, you tend to see it of great magnitude. Unsurmountable problem. Whereas if you think about the needs of every other, then even if you have a big personal problem, but comparing to the problems of many others, your personal problem, tragedy may seem insignificant. Like a mother who has developed a very strong love and affection to the child, when the child is, falling into a pit of fire, then the mother, because of her love, compassion and affection, would not worry at all about her danger. She would immediately jump into the pit of fire to save the child. So that's possible. This, even ordinary instances like this shows the possibility to develop the greater sense of responsibility in the form of loving kindness, compassion and so forth. Which makes you tolerate, which makes you patient. So therefore you can see this negative emotions are, I would like to call these negative emotions with all the nasty terms. These negative emotions will suffocate you. Do you want to get suffocated? You want to breathe more or get suffocated? Like for example, when you get angry, you develop this difficulty in breathing. He told me this. Yesterday also he said this. Today also he said this. You can't breathe. It's suffocating. It's constricting, restricting. It makes you blind. Your analytical power is destroyed. Your capacity to discern and judge is destroyed. So therefore, these negative emotions have only one job to do. The only one job is to destroy you. Nothing else. If there is somebody who is harming you, okay, it's bad that person is harming you, but at least he may have some purpose. But then these negative emotions, they have no other purpose except to destroy you. So why would you submit to the dictates of these negative emotions? Does it make sense? It's really interesting. I'm trying to say a few things here, but you please do some experiment. Not just only read the text, but do some experiment through your personal experiences. Because we all had the experience of getting angry, developing attachment and so forth. So write down on those occasions when you were angry. In fact, on several occasions you might have been angry. Then what did you do on those occasions when you were angry? And what did you achieve? Make a list of those things. On those days when you were patient and kind, what did you achieve? Make a list of those things also. So in other words, I normally give homework to people saying that, okay, after listening to the teaching, you do homework. On one page or one book, you write all the good things of the positive emotions. On another, the destructiveness, the negative qualities of negative emotions. And if there are some good things with the negative emotions, also write them. Be fair. And then see. Then it will speak for itself how destructive they are, these negative emotions. So it's important, especially for younger generation. Now you have many elderly people here, so not only you already have a lot of experience with these things. It's more or less. In many cases, what I'm saying may be repetition. You already know this, but it's not enough to know. But we need to live it, and especially for the younger generation, we need to tell them which one is good, and let them find it by themselves, so that they are able to develop conviction. Okay? So then there is a hope and possibility to change your attitude with the passage of time. Okay? The time goes so quickly, I already overstayed. But if you have questions, then I will quickly try to answer one or two questions. Then I'll stop here. Yeah. Can you say it in English for the benefit of many others?
Okay, I'll try my best.
Yeah.
What happens being a mother of two children, because in the morning we tend to be very busy.
Yeah.
We have to go to the office and
Yeah.
we have to take our children to school. So they, they're very lazy in eating and wearing clothes. So I tend to lose my temper and then I show my anger.
Yeah.
So the immediate result is they do it very fast.
Yeah.
So that is one result which is helpful to both sides.
Yeah.
And but my intention is not to hurt my children,
Yeah.
but to speed up their
Yeah.
actions,
Yeah.
like eating and wearing clothes. So what is the difference?
So based on your experience, with that anger, do you think it made a bad impact on them or not? I mean, it helped you make them get earlier, but apart from that, do you think it made a big impact, bad impact on them or not?
I hope not.
It will.
How?
It will, because the children will imbibe the qualities that you show them. Next time, that's what we teach in the school. For example, the drawback of physically punishing kids is that they will, when they grow up, they will also know, okay, this is the way, this is what my teacher did, this is the way I have to do. Physically punish them, kick them, whatever, you see, this is what I learned, this is how I grow. So they'll pick up the same thing. They may not say anything right now, they look like obedient because you're a little bit bolder with anger and so forth. But deep down they will realize this is the way. So they will do the same thing. So therefore the important thing is, it's easier to say than do, but the thing is, as His Holiness says, yes, it is true, anger gives you some extra energy. That's why many people think anger is needed to get what you want, to challenge somebody. So His Holiness said, yes, with anger you get extra energy, but that extra energy is essentially blind energy. So it is not sure whether it will hit the target or not. Blind energy. That's one thing. And then the other important thing is, normally people think to protect myself not being bullied and exploited, I have to be angry. But the Buddhist teaching says, no, you can be equally forceful without getting angry. You see? There is a way of doing that. But like, for example, I have not hardly any experience with the kids. But I have seen this, like parents, sometimes they are too tender, they let the child do whatever they like, and then everything is a mess, then they get angry, So that's not the way. These kids, they are also very clever. They may not be able to speak fluently or things like that, but they are very clever. So you should act in such a way that deep down you have the kindness, you have the compassion in terms of nurturing them, looking after them, you have everything, but you behave in such a way that they are bound to obey certain things. Sometimes in a very clever way, sometimes in a little bit tough manner, not angry but tough. That's what I learned when I walked in His Holiness's office. I learned one thing there. I said, be compassionate but tough. Compassionate doesn't mean hey all the time, Be compassionate but tough. So I'm sure there is a way, And particularly now you have shown anger a few times, so next time if you simply, without getting angry, just if you express that as if you are angry, I think they will obey what you want to. Any other questions? Too late? Okay, then we stop here. Thank you. Good night.